Okay, let's talk about the International Criminal Court, the ICC, accusing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of committing war crimes in Gaza and putting out a warrant for his arrest. Now, the prosecutor, his name is Karim Assad Ahmad Khan. And what he's doing is significant for all countries, and I'll go through the reasons one at a time. First of all, not only is there no evidence of Israel committing war crimes, there is significant evidence to the contrary. For example, the head of urban warfare studies from West Point Academy, the chief military academy in the United States, has been to Gaza twice, has analyzed the situation in depth, and has released multiple statements saying that Israel is not only not committing war crimes, but is making more effort to prevent civilian casualties than any military in history, providing large amounts of food, medicine, taking incubators into hospitals to care for babies when the hospitals are themselves being used as criminal headquarters or military headquarters by Hamas. Giving populations notice in many ways, leaflets, phone calls, text messages, creating safe spaces for the population with maps being distributed, guiding them to those safe spaces, protecting the population from Hamas as they move through certain humanitarian corridors at certain pauses in the fighting. Hamas themselves are trying to maximize civilian casualties. Israel is doing everything it possibly can to minimize them. So what you have is an international criminal justice system that is not only making up evidence to accuse a democratically elected leader of a democratic country, but they're going against existing evidence to the contrary. And this is what you call a kangaroo court. It's a fake court, and it is at the international level. That is why this is such a problem for the entire planet. Now, let's go a step further. Israel is fighting against Hamas, who is still holding well over 100 hostages. Many of the hostages have already died. We have no idea their conditions. They are most likely atrocious. Hamas committed a breach into Israel's territory and committed effectively a genocidal act, which is horrendous on so many levels. Israel has every right to go after Hamas. And what Karim Assad Ahmad Khan is doing is holding Israel back in their fight against Hamas. So he's basically giving Hamas an advantage. The International Criminal Court is siding with a terrorist organization that has committed a savage act of mass murder and holding hostages. And the court is giving Hamas an advantage. Now, if that doesn't get you worried as to what that could, as to how that could affect your country, you're not understanding this. Now, let's go a step further. There is a concept in political science called presidential immunity, and what it says is that you can't just charge and arrest a head of state. They're not like regular civilians. There's a reason for that. First of all, if you're going to charge a head of state, you can do it, certainly after their term. But even during their term, there's a process like impeachment. There are processes to do it. You can't just willy-nilly go out and do it. And the reason is, if you could, then the head of state's opponents would simply use the justice system against them. You see this in third world countries all the time. The justice system is weaponized. It's completely unreliable. Some up-and-coming leader of some opposing political party doesn't like the current leader and accuses them of something. Next thing, that leader's in jail. They're being tortured. They're being killed in some cases. So this is third world mentality, but it's coming from the highest court that really goes over and above a democratically elected country's official legal systems. So all democratic countries are now subject to third world legal processes. This is devastating. Now, another aspect of this is what's called a blood libel. Not everyone knows what that means. A blood libel is when you accuse a population of doing something so terrible that it causes other people in the community to rise up against them. You accuse them of something generally to do with harming women and children and babies. This has been done for centuries to the Jewish people. They used to be accused of using babies' blood to make their food for their festival. But it would cause the populations in these countries to rise up against the Jews and commit massacre because they either believed it or they wanted to believe it, and it was convenient to just use it as an excuse. But when you accuse Israelis, Jews, of indiscriminately killing babies, killing children, killing women, etc., that's just a blood libel. There is no genocide in Gaza. There is no indiscriminate attacks. There is no starvation. There are more food trucks going into Gaza than at any time in Gaza's history, and there always have been a lot. Hamas is stealing a lot of that food, but we still see food boxes of international aid being sold in the markets. So you think the International Criminal Court doesn't know this? I mean, it's on the internet everywhere. They know everything. They choose to ignore it. These are trumped up charges and they're subverting the justice system of Israel and effectively every Western country. This is a travesty of justice of historical proportions, and I seriously hope that the leaders of the democratic world push back. In fact, what Mr. Khan has done is proven that he is completely incompetent and unfit to lead this organization. He has undermined the integrity of this organization to the point where it really should just be disbanded, and it calls into question the legitimacy of the United Nations as a whole. Thank you for watching. I take complex concepts and make them easy to understand and easy to share in short, concise videos. If you value my content, please consider supporting my channel at patreon.com/EliEzraOfficial, all one word. Your support helps me to continue creating content, to make sure that the truth is heard, to counter all the misinformation. That's vital to create a peaceful and prosperous Middle East for everyone.